Welcome back to the HPP podcast, the podcast that covers college basketball, the NBA draft, inside and out. I'm Cam Reihl. I'm going to be your host today. Thank you for joining us again. Today, I'm joined by our fearless leader, Rich Harris, and Doc Louallen. March Madness is over, and in April, we're going to be ramping up our NBA coverage leading into the playoffs, which have already started actually earlier this week with the play-in tournament. We have a jam-packed show for you this week, and we'll have a final look at the outcome of our 23-24 NBA Fearless Forecast, kick off our playoff pick'em competition, and check in on a few major storylines around the NBA, which are sure to affect the outcome of this year's playoffs. Fellas, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Earlier today, I got to sit down with Yale's head coach, James Jones, which will be in next week's show. But that was fun to sit down and talk with a Division I coach. We talked about all the things we were kind of churning around about, the changing of college basketball and so forth. So that was fun.
Doc, how you doing?
Yeah, we haven't seen Doc in like 3 years.
When the last time you guys at the NBA show?
Right.
Yeah, man.
This is true.
I'm good. I'm in New York. Back in New York City.
With a new job.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, I'm working at ABC News now.
Yeah, that's great. Cam and I were talking before you joined that you don't work for anybody small. You work for the NBA or the Cleveland Browns or ABC News. You don't work at like the local hardware store.
No, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's just how it happens. That's the Lord, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. It was good to have you back, man. It's pretty fitting that the three of us are going to be here for this NBA show, because I figured the best way, for us to start off would be by touching back on our Fearless Forecast that we started out earlier this year, before the NBA season. And it's been a long time, like Doc said, since we covered NBA ball. But for our regular listeners, you probably already know each year, at HPP, we start off with our NBA Fearless Forecast. It's a huge, season preview article and podcast. We break down, each NBA team's draft grades, free agency deals, and, we look at their overall roster construction. And, together as a full team, we like to, kind of take a chance on, where each team will end up at the end of the year, and try and make some predictions about how the season's going to shape up. So, I figured we could take a look back at our picks and our forecasts and see how we did, across the season. Now we can look back on hindsight. So I've broken down a few of our takes. We can probably start off with the East, because we did pretty dang well with our Fearless forecasts. We actually only missed 5 of our over-unders in the entire Eastern Conference, the three of us. It was pretty impressive. And our biggest, outlier in a negative stance on standings was actually, really, it was the Sixers, but I think that's probably pretty understandable given the injury to Embiid. I think, the biggest outlier in the East for us was probably the Orlando Magic, who in our Fearless Forecast we had ranked 12th in the East, and they actually ended up finishing 5th, and secured a regular playoff spot.
I remember during the show, during that preseason NBA period, a few of us, I don't remember exactly who, I think you were one, Cam, were really high on the Magic. I know I wasn't buying in, but I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, even though we had them placed, down at 12, we did choose the over for them at 36.5 games, and they crushed that pretty well. So, even though we didn't get the exact ranking right, the three of us definitely saw some kind of potential in them. But yeah, I think probably the biggest, maybe the biggest disappointment out of the East this year has probably been the Bucks. In our fearless forecast, we actually ended up placing them as our 1 seed. Granted, that was only by 1 vote out of our whole HP crew.
Actually, what the rankings were, I think 7 people voted for those. The over-unders, only 3 of us voted.
Yes.
So there were a lot of people voted for the rankings.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, ultimately they had very, very slightly more high placements than the Celtics did, who of course ultimately took the 1 seed this year. Guys, any thoughts on the Bucks season? We got a little bit of news coming up on them in the next segment here, but what happened this year for the Bucks? What are we feeling about them for the playoffs coming up?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
I don't know. The Bucks, they still number 2 seed, I guess, right? Or the 3rd seed, but I still think they're the top 2 teams. Boston just been playing out their mind to me. Boston, to me, overachieved my expectations. Even though I think I had Boston definitely 1 or 2, but I think the way they playing, adding KP and even though they still lost Marcus Smart, Boston just been playing. I think Boston been playing so great that made kind of like Milwaukee look less than what they are. Milwaukee's still a new team signed, still trying to get. It's hard when 2 stars come together, but the playoffs is a different animal. That's how you judge. You judge by the playoffs with when you get stars like that. So that's what I want to see, the playoffs. But I think Boston being so great the way they was this year is the reason why people look at Milwaukee lower than what they still a great team. They just came together. So
yeah, I mean, switch coaches mid-season. I mean, I don't. Their record was pretty darn good when they fired Griffin. But at the same time, I can remember. I don't know. I think it's the last time we actually talked about the NBA. It was around Christmas time, and their defense was just terrible. And I think they've just been, up, down, up, down. And I don't think Middleton is ever going to be what he was, and everybody on that team is, getting older. Brook Lopez and I mean, some guys are still in their prime, but Lillard's not in his prime anymore. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's not a huge surprise given everything that's happened. But what did surprise me is that they fell so. I don't know where they finished defensively, but I know they were toward the bottom of the league mid-season. I'll look it up while you move on.
Yeah, Doc, any other teams from the East that stood out to you? Just looking back at the fearless forecast and where the teams ended up.
Yeah, this year has been a crazy year. It's not a year anyone could really predict, honestly, in terms of basketball. It's just from the scoring, everything in this NBA is just disgusting this regular season. Everything was inflated. Everything was no defense being played. Nobody played defense this year. Even the number 1 team defensively, it's not a number 1 team defensively. Like no one plays defense. It was 1 week where you had, the same day, Cat scored, I think 70, and then Joel Embiid scored 70 the same day. And then the following week, Luka scored 70, and I think it was Devin Booker. I don't know what it was, but it was this now Jalen Brunson. I like Jalen Brunson. I think he had a great season. But come on, man. Is Jalen Brunson in the Knicks the number 2 seed? Are you the Sixers, are you scared? No. I still think if you're the Sixers, you feel like you should win. I don't know. When I look at the East, there's just no one who really. The Hawks disappointed me still because I thought they was going to at least take a step up to be if the Magic could do it, why can't the Hawks do it? I just think it was more disappointment than actually teams surprised me because even the Pacers up there at one point, they dropped all the way out. Now people don't even talk about the Pacers no more. People don't even talk about the Pacers. Before, the last time we talked, the Pacers was like a surprise team. Now look at them. Nobody talking about them. So I think it was more disappointment in the East. I think the only team that surprised me, they didn't really surprise me, but they surprised me by the way how dominant they've been all year was Boston. And I think Boston being so dominant is the reason why we look at Milwaukee the way we look at Milwaukee, because we expect Milwaukee to be that team. But Boston is the only team. Like, who did that? No other team to me in the East. Definitely not the East. That surprised me. The Sixers is the Sixers. The Miami Heat do what they do every year. Be at the bottom and try to make a playoff run. So yeah, nobody. And the Magic, honestly, I'm going to say one thing about the Magic. I'm happy that they are 5th seed, but like I said, this year been a season where it just been a lot of the placements has just been all over the place. Like, and the placements to me don't really matter because the AC could beat the Magic. So it's like, it doesn't really matter. Really, it's like, I don't believe the Magic is a 5th seed, but I'm congratulations on being 5th seed. Do I think they're 5th seed? No. But hey, I don't believe that. Who they play first round? Who's number 4?
Uh,
They're going to be playing the Cavs.
Yeah, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, come on. I think the Cavs is going to beat them, like, no doubt. I don't see the Cavs losing that series. So but that's just my opinion on the East. I think Boston is my only surprise team, and that's because they've been dominant from start to finish.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited to get to our East coverage, when we get down to our playoff pick'em comp. But I definitely agree with you. I think it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot in the East. Because a lot of these teams outside of Boston, outside of Boston, they're. I mean, you can look down their records. I mean, they're basically the same level of team.
Everybody.
Yeah. Okay, just to shift gears back to the West real quick, though.
If I can, Milwaukee finished 19th in defensive efficiency. So, but they were a lot lower.
They moved up. Yeah.
They were something like 27th or something, I think, when we talked about it mid-season. So
yeah, that's brutal. All right. So let's switch over to the Western Conference, looking at our fearless forecast. We got a lot of outliers, to say the least, this year. Finishing with the number 1 seed in the Western Conference by just a game. We had the Oklahoma City Thunder, who in our fearless forecast we had 9th. Granted, we did take the over on that team at 44.5 games, so we did like them. We just thought that they might have a little bit harder time in this packed Western Conference. Followed by the Nuggets, who we had first in our fearless forecast, and then 3rd in the West we had the Minnesota Timberwolves, who we both placed 10th in our fearless forecast, and the 3 of us, together were pretty low on them. We took them under at 44.5 games. Going down the list, the Clippers, we placed 7th in our fearless forecast, finished with the 4 seed, followed by the Mavericks, 8th in our fearless forecast, 5th in the final standings. A couple of pretty disappointing teams in terms of our fearless forecast, though I think a couple of Lakers fans might have skewed our data here.
Yeah.
We have the Suns, 2nd in our fearless forecast, followed by the Lakers, who are 3rd in our fearless forecast. The Lakers, of course, having just won their play-in game matchup to secure the 7th seed, followed by the Pelicans, the Kings. We had 6th in our fearless forecast. The Warriors, probably by far our biggest disappointment in terms of fearless forecast rank compared to their final standings. They will finish the year 10th in the Western Conference, having lost their play-in matchup. In our fearless forecast, we had them placed 4th overall in the West. And outside of the Grizzlies, who I think we were high on preseason prior to a couple of key injuries, obviously to Ja Morant, but also to Steven Adams, among others, we had them 5th in our fearless forecast, and they finished with the 13th spot in the Western Conference.
You know,
guys, a lot to unpack.
You know how many players played for the Grizzlies this year?
Oh, God, 30?
33. 33 players played for the Grizzlies this year.
It's insane.
By the
entire
way,
roster.
our fearless forecast, we had we had 9 voters. 3 I know are diehard Laker fans. Diehard Laker fans. 2 others live in California.
Yeah, I will say with the Suns and Lakers, the 3 of us performed well. We all took the under on both the Suns and the Lakers. And they both went under. The Suns, their preseason over under was 51.5 games, which is pretty mind blowing looking at the team that struggled to secure that 6th seed. They barely kept themselves out of the play-in. And the Lakers, we took the under at 47.5, the 3 of us. So, we were right on the over unders. Just to double check on that too, in the West, we didn't do quite as well with our over-unders as we did in the East. Granted, though, a big part of that was, the injuries to the Grizzlies.
What was our record?
Let's see. Here we went, I believe we went 8 out of 15 correct on our over-unders in the West.
We were
not bad.
So we were overall, we were 6 above 500.
Yep.
Which is pretty damn good because on NBA Hoops Rumors, they did a survey, with all their readers, and that's a lot of people, okay? And they were collectively, they were only 2 above 500 on the over-unders. So we did better. Well, we should. I mean, most of us are supposed to be writers, so some of them, this is just a little pet peeve. And Drew and Doc knows this because Doc's been a sports writer for a long time. You can't make predictions and write with your heart if you want to be a legitimate sports writer.
Yeah, let's tell that to the Lakers fans. They gotta chill out a little bit. Guys, a couple of major surprise teams. Maybe not complete surprises. I think probably our biggest surprise team, just based on our over-unders and our fearless forecast ranking, is probably the Timberwolves. I'm curious what you guys think about their season. I mean, this is a team that we've been pretty low on since the Rudy Gobert trade. And they kind of proved us wrong this year. I mean, even without Cat for a significant portion of the year, they secured this 3rd seed and they were tied for the 1 seed coming down to the last couple games of the year. What do you guys, Rich, I'll start with you. Like, what do you think the recipe was for the Wolves team this year that, really turned things around?
I think, I just updated our depth charts today, and it had been a couple months because we've been so involved in college. And the one thing that I noticed, Minnesota by far over any other team, continuity. We talk about continuity all the time in college basketball. Minnesota is the only team that basically brought everybody back. And we criticized them for bringing back Naz Reid. Well, he's 6th man of the year candidate. So I just think that they've matured. I think that they found a way to make it work because they stuck to it. And I think the NBA, I think they really do a disservice to their fans and everything else by, just throwing players around left and right. And, the roster's just, I mean, sometimes the roster looks totally different in October. And then by the time it's March, the roster's just, you don't recognize it. And I don't know, as fans, you kind of like to have certain guys stick around. You fall in love with certain guys. Like if the Sixers, when they got rid of Moses Malone, I cried. And when Barkley left, I cried. And when Iverson left, I cried. And if Maxey leaves, I'll cry. And when Harden left, we had a huge block party when Harden left. But but yeah, I think continuity matters.
Doc, what do you think about the Timberwolves?
Yeah, hold on.
Thinking?
One, I'm definitely not crying if Maxey leaves. He might have to leave this year. He might got to leave this year. So we could talk about that another time. Contract-wise, it's not making sense. And if this team loses first round. But the Timberwolves, congratulations. What's his name? Anthony Edwards. He took his game to a different level. That's really the main thing is him he played that USA basketball. He took that into the season, and he just really got better. He's only 22 years old, and I think that was great for the NBA to see. That's what they need to promote. Stop promoting the international players. Sorry, Luka fans, but when you got a guy who got better, you don't see that no more. These guys do not get better. They come in the NBA one way and they stay like that for a long time. He clearly got better his basketball. Like he just got better. He became a better star. He only, like I said, I didn't realize he was only 22 because I feel like these guys be in the NBA so long because they come in at 18 and then I'll be looking at SGA. I'd be like, yeah, SGA like he just came in the NBA. He rated 28, 29. He
Is he
older,
really?
so yeah, SGA old. He like 28, 29.
Wow, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, me either.
Do you know Blake Griffith, by the way, today retired? And I thought, I was looking for his age, and I thought he was going to be like 40 or something. He's only like 35. And it seems like he's been around forever. And you're telling me he's only 6 years older than SGA? Maybe I
don't think SGA did SGA do one and done?
Yeah, he was one and done.
Well, he was on the Clippers bench for a minute. Not the bench, but he didn't get that many years.
Yeah.
And then I guess when he first went to OKC, he was behind kind of like a Chris Paul, so it took him some years to become this. So I think that's why when I look at SGA, I'm like, damn, he did been in the NBA for a long, long time now. But it's like, damn, a lot of these, like even Ja Morant, young, they still got time to develop and get better. I didn't see that in Ja yet. His jump shots not there, but Anthony Edwards just got much better. Like the game just looks so much better at a young age, and you don't really see that no more. So I think of course, he's the real big reason in why they got better like that. He's a legitimate top 10 player in the NBA right now.
I agree.
So I just
I'm
think
with you there.
At 22 years old, and it seems like he wants to keep getting better. So I mean, that's just great for the NBA to see guys get better, because guys don't get better at all no more. Guys don't develop their game at all. Like they just come to the NBA and be who they are. They rookie year.
Yeah, I mean with Edwards too, and you can point to skills that he's added this year. I think of he's added the bank shot to his game this season. He's added that fadeaway to his game this year. He's handling the ball much more in pick and roll. He's a much better passer. I mean, it's just down the list. He's really improved. The other guy I think that's been a real key for the Wolves this season is Jaden McDaniels. We didn't really get to see him in the playoffs last year because he broke his hand punching a wall in the last game of the season. And I think this year he's been, he's got a real shot at maybe just making first team All NBA defense. But I think at least he'll probably be all second team defense. Just a real step forward for him in his development. Guys, what do we think about the Thunder, though? I mean, again, this is another team we had, on the bubble of the playoffs. It really in the play-in preseason in our fearless forecast, they end up taking the 1 seed. We've talked a little bit about Shea, but what else? What is it here? It looks like Dagnall, is at one heck of a coach.
We picked him, by the way, as coach of the year in our preseason forecast.
Yeah, we sure did.
We knew this was a team that was moving in the right direction, and it was just a question of when, not if. And to me, it happened probably about a season earlier than I expected. I think it's the best run organization, from coaching, from development to making decisions in the NBA. It's just, talent all around. Yeah, I just think it's the best run organization in basketball, and it was due to happen.
Oh yeah, so OKC, I think for me, when I look at OKC, of course Shea been berserk this year. But other than that, you gotta give a lot of credit to Chet. We didn't know coming off that injury. And him playing his rookie season like the way he's playing, he doesn't look like a rookie. So you got to give him that props. And I always compare him to Wemby because even though Wemby's stats immediately look better, it's hard you got to look at the efficiency sometimes. Sometimes guys just play their role better than, and the Eagles win. I always give this, when I used to play basketball, I used to say, the guy who scored the most points, but is he winning the game? See, you got to win the game. See, I got to compare to Wemby because Wemby stats do look good. It's definitely up and down the whole year though. It's some games they only post the games we score 40 and 30. Then there's some games where he gets 10, 8, 12. When you see Chet is 16, 16, maybe 22, 16, but he stays in that radius and still shoots a high percentage. That's winning basketball. So having a big man on your squad that plays winning basketball. He always played winning basketball since his college days, as you guys know. But I think that's really he's the X factor. They're not top seed, definitely, or they don't look the same without Chet. Like Chet definitely, even despite SGA being going berserk, he needed Chet. Like Chet is that X factor, and I think he definitely deserves a lot of credit. And I got to compare to women because it's crazy. The Spurs last year won 22 games. The exact same team came back this year. You add women, they still won 22. That tells you it's not, he doesn't generational. LeBron James' first year, Cleveland Cavaliers they won 17 games the year before. LeBron James they won 30, 35 or something like that. Like that's impact. And that's what is the difference, and I just think winning basketball will always go a long way, man. I like players like Chad who who knows how to win when you play winning basketball.
I'm glad you brought that up
I'm with you.
because I picked Chet preseason to be, rookie of the year. And everyone's saying Wemby, 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 Wemby. And I'm like, in any other award, they always, especially MVP, they say you got to be a winner. So why doesn't that apply to rookie of the year?
Exactly.
Because Chet's not going to put up. He's never going to put up playing with the team he's playing with. He's never going to put up super gaudy numbers because he's playing with other really, really good players. Wemby is playing with a bunch of mediocre players. So, yeah, I mean, obviously he has the opportunity to put up huge numbers where Chet doesn't. Yeah, I still think Chet should be rookie of the year, but nobody's even mentioning his name. Like he didn't even play this year.
It was close in the beginning, and then the propaganda came in when Wemby started having those games where he's one of those players that I already know how it's going to be. He does nothing in the first 3 quarters, and then he gets garbage buckets in the fourth quarter to make his stats look better. He has that. Most of his points come in the fourth quarter, which is good, but it would be better if your points come in the fourth quarter. You're not already down by 20. See, that's how his game is. I watched the Spurs just to see how he plays because I don't want to come off a hater, but he takes so many bad threes. His threes, he takes so many bad shots all the time, and they blame the others on the Spurs, but it really be him. He doesn't really know how to play basketball yet, so. But it's fine. Chad, if you really watch basketball, Chad is really the rookie of the year winning. I like winners, and it is a thin line between that rookie of the year, between winning and not winning, because the number 1 pick goes to the worst team. But
True.
But it's like still, I feel like Chat still played great enough to get that award. Like, and I think that
you brought up the most important stat of all. How many more wins did the 2 teams get from using these?
And that's the point I want to try to explain to people. That's the only thing that really matters. The exact same Spurs team last year won 22 games. So if you add the generational talent, and he's so-called averaging 21 and 10 and 5 blocks a game, how you only win is 22? It doesn't make sense to me. It's the exact same team. They got Keldon Johnson. They got the other guy. Both of them averaged like 20 last year. I forgot his name. And they got
Vassell.
Yeah, Vassell. And they had Cochran. I think Tyus Joe still on 18.
Yeah.
Trey Jones.
Trey Jones.
Right. I get him confused too.
Right. But yeah, your team you should have won more games, and it just didn't happen. So that's how I look at it. I judge by last year Spurs team versus now, and you should have got better.
Yeah. I got to shout out Jalen Williams too, HPP alum. Jalen Williams.
Yeah,
I think he would be probably my pick for most improved. I mean, granted, he's still young, so kind of the expectation is to improve, but I thought the kind of season he had, he kind of looks to me already like a poor man's Jaylen Brown. and he can actually go left too. So that's a benefit for our friend Jalen Williams.
I think Kobe White and Maxey are going to probably. I think
I think they're running
that
away with
award's
that
going to
one.
come down to those two guys.
I think so too. All right, guys. Any other, standout teams from the West that you want to hit on? I think we'll probably come back to a couple of the playoff teams here in a minute. But just from the Fearless forecast that, really stand out to you.
Well, Memphis, I guess we didn't. I mean, Memphis was a disaster because, so many injuries, and Morant was already going to miss a quarter of the season, and then he gets hurt on top of it. That's nobody could have predicted that mess. Yeah. So I don't know. You can't really. I think Memphis will be back in the running next year. So, I think we did a pretty solid job. I don't think we really missed the mark that greatly. Except for the Lakers fans skewed the results. I mean, I didn't expect I expected the Lakers to be around 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. And so they were. They were 7th, right? Yeah, 7th.
Yeah, finishing 7th.
So yeah.
I'll go quick. Memphis was bad since the beginning when they gave Desmond Bane $250 million. That's when you know it's gonna be a bad team. He's not that type of player. The Lakers. They always going to play bad in regular seasons because LeBron James can't carry a team and Anthony Davis can take that next level. Well, congratulations, you're playing Denver first round. Let's see how they play. The Suns disappointed me a lot only because it's like, what are you doing? Like, I understand the injuries only happened out in the lineup, but it's Kevin Durant. You got to have – this is your legacy on the line now, Kevin Durant. If you don't win now in the Suns – out of everybody on who you're playing with right now, your legacy is like people are gonna look at you different if you don't win with the Suns. So, and this is just bad. The fact that you might lose first round. If you lose first round in Minnesota, you got this package. It's over. That's the worst thing for the Suns in KD's legacy to lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves first round. That would be the worst thing in his career. That'd be worse than anything. Like he might drop out of top 20 in a lot of people's lists because they won't respect him, and everybody gonna go for recency bias anyway. So what else teams I'm missing right now? OKC, we talked about OKC, Minnesota, we talked about Minnesota, Denver. I know y'all like Denver. Denver too cocky. I don't like.
We'll convince you one day, Doc. One day we'll convince you.
But how about Mavericks?
Oh, I forgot about the Mavericks. Oh, that's a team I can't wait to talk about. I'm being quiet now. I know how I feel about Kawhi. I love Kawhi. Kawhi is like a Kawhi. If I could have another favorite player, it would be Kawhi Leonard. Even though he doesn't play all the time, he always finds a way to beat the Mavericks in the series. And he's going 3 for 3. I think they're going to get them out of here again. But the Mavs are playing good down the stretch. So They don't play defense though. That's the key. They don't play absolutely no defense. So I think that's going to hurt them in the playoffs when the defense do ramp up on both sides. And now, I think they're going to be doing hot potato a lot with Kyrie because the defense is going to be so amped up. So, but yeah, the West should be exciting because I think all those teams in the West could definitely beat each other for some reason.
For sure. All right. So I think we're ready to move on. Real quick before we move on to our pick'em competition. The play-in is already started. We don't quite yet know who's going to be facing off against the 1-seeded Celtics and the Thunder. But I feel like there's a couple of interesting storylines that we can already take out from this play-in tournament. The first one that I wanted to bring up, Zion Williamson had a hell of a game against the Lakers.
And we got to give him credit for playing 70 games, too.
Yeah, he had a great season, honestly. I mean, he had some ups and downs, but you got to expect that for a guy that's coming back from injury. But man,
injury and dealing with a lot of strippers.
Oh yeah, that's the off the court injury. That's different. But it still counts. But man, he had 40 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists against the LeBron and AD led Lakers. Down to the last 3 minutes, it looked like the Pelicans might just pull away and send them back into the 8th seed game. But man,
he goes down with the game tied.
Yeah, with the game tied, with after finishing a layup over Anthony Davis to tie the game, leaves with an apparent hamstring injury. Um, and now it's reported that he's probably not going to make a comeback probably until late May.
Oh,
Um,
I heard 2 weeks.
it would be May, late May. We're in
No,
April
it
right
wouldn't be
now,
late May. It'd be May.
mid-May. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be May. I mean, either way, he's
Yeah.
definitely going to be missing this next play-in game
Right.
against the Sacramento Kings. Guys, we've gotten a taste of what Zion Williamson might look like, when he's fully healthy, but are we ever going to see that at this point? I mean, it seems like every time we get a glimpse of it, there's another injury that comes down the line. Rich, I see you shaking your head. What are you
I
thinking?
don't think so, because foot injuries with that weight, I mean, whether it's muscle or fat or whatever, he's just so big. He puts so much pressure on his feet, and he's had so many lower body injuries already. I think this is always going to be a problem for him. I don't, he made it through 70 games, and that was great. But now when they really need him, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is you got to limit his minutes. I was looking at the stats for the Lakers the other day. You realize Anthony Davis and LeBron are playing 35 minutes a night at their age, especially LeBron. I mean, and for as many games as they play, I don't know why teams don't limit minutes, like they do in Europe. Nobody plays huge minutes in Europe. Doncic didn't play huge minutes in Europe, and so that the guys are there for the next day. I don't know why. When you're, I just don't know why they, instead of taking all these games off, why don't they play a few minutes a night? So LeBron maybe averages 27 minutes a game, but he plays, 70 games in a season. I'm just worried that the guy is so big. And he looked in good shape. He looks in good shape, but I just think it's just so much weight to be putting on his lower body. He's kind of like a weightlifter who can jump, has mad hops, and it's just physically your body's just not meant to do that.
Yeah, and then he doesn't shoot the basketball, so he's not going to be. That's the problem. That whole game, he went to the basket every play. It's like, damn. I like that basketball. I ain't gonna lie, but it was like,
Oh,
damn.
it's great to watch.
Yeah, it's great to watch.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's
But I
amazing.
mean, yeah, you got to worry if he can really sustain it, right? I mean, it's a shame because I mean, in this game, just not to mention they were without Brandon Ingram and have been without Brandon Ingram. So in a lot of ways, offensively, it was completely the Zion show in this game.
No, Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram played, but he didn't play effectively.
Yeah, he didn't play much. Yeah, he was sitting most of the second half anyway.
But that's the
yeah,
coach.
maybe.
You should have put him in when Zion got hurt. Then
Yeah,
you need an
good
offense.
idea.
You need an offense.
Ingram's another one who can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And he has no excuse because he's skinny as a rail. I mean, maybe he needs to add some muscle. I don't know. But
Ken, to your point, even though the play-in is not finished, doesn't matter. Whoever OKC's beating, they beating the Sacramento Kings or they beating the Pelicans. Doesn't matter. So we could make our picks, and the same thing with Boston. Boston's beating Chicago or Miami, so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We can make our
I
picks.
think you're right.
Yeah.
All right. I was hoping Drew would be here for this next one, but I think, guys, the Golden State Warriors were eliminated the other night against the injury-riddled Sacramento Kings, who were without really both of their shooting guards in this game. Malik Monk is going to be out for a few more weeks. And Kevin Huerter is actually out for the season.
Right.
And really, if you were watching this game, there wasn't a whole lot of competition. The Kings kind of ran away with it from the jump.
Clay went 0 for 10.
Yeah, I mean, after watching this game, to me, I feel like, this is the end of the Warriors era. I don't really see a way out of it from here. But I'm curious what you guys think. What do you think? What's the move this offseason? What are we going to see out of the Warriors?
It's fine to blow it up if you. It's fine. You had a good run. Dynasties don't last forever. I mean, y'all been together since 2013, those three, and it's 2024. That's a long period of time to have three guys together. So you just clap your hands. Definitely in this new NBA, these guys move teams. Thanks to LeBron James, guys don't even stay in their team. So it's good. Think about it. They came together at 2013 or maybe 2014. And you won 4 championships together, and now it's 2004. Yeah, breakup. It's fine. 10 years, 11 years, man. It's great. I'm not gonna say like be sad for them. I'm not gonna say I feel bad for them. It's just your time to be over. And you lasted 10 years as a group, as a 3 core. So I mean, just clap it up for them. Congratulations, time to end. But it's not, I don't people keep saying they mad at Clay for being washed. Come on, the guy missed 2 years of basketball. Like nobody's coming back from that. He missed 2 years of basketball. He was never the type to dribble. He always was just like that. So he needs his legs to shoot. So I mean, it's just what it is. It is what it is. Father Time came. Draymond got so much gray hair now everywhere. Steph Curry, what makes it worse is everybody loves Steph, and he, for some reason, it looks like he got better because he keeps getting stronger. So, and that's what always was Steph's weakness. When he was coming up with them, Clay always would guard the best defender. So with Draymond, those was like the grit of the team, while Curry was just a little boy. But now Curry got strong, so now Curry could kind of like carry a team. But now it's like, damn, now you can carry now that they old. So it's like that's what makes it look worse, is that Curry's still playing great, because Curry actually did get better because he keep getting stronger while they are declining. So, but hey, the time is up, and it's all right to break it up.
I'm with you. I think it's time. But Rich, what do you think? Like, could this team really feasibly trade a player like Steph Curry, even though it's this late in his career?
Whoa.
You think that might be in the cards? What do we think?
No, I can't see that.
You don't trade Steph.
No, I can't see that.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on.
And the problem is, Draymond's getting, like close to $30 million a year for multiple years. And you have that huge contract for Wiggins, and Wiggins only plays well when everyone says he sucks. So when he finally played like we expected him to, and we all said, "Wow, Andrew Wiggins! Wow, he's a winner." And then he fell off a cliff again. So we all had to start saying Andrew Wiggins sucks so he could start playing again. But yeah, he's kind of going to be hard to trade. Clay's a free agent. Yeah, they have some issues because of those contracts. Yeah, I would have to think, if you're going to get Clay, if he's coming back, it's going to have to be for cheap, because I really don't think he's a starter anymore. And yeah, and I don't, Kuminga and Moody, yeah, they showed some, but they really haven't really been what the Warriors hoped they were. Yeah, Golden State's got some work to do for sure. And they don't have a lot of depth, none of the young guys of the team have really, amazed anyone yet.
Yeah, I think Kuminga had a nice improvement to his year. Of course, but prior to the trade deadline, he was basically demanded a trade or more minutes, with Steve Kerr. So, I mean, he did seem to kind of earn those minutes later in the year, but I don't know if he looks like he's ever really going to get up to like an all-star level, which is
right. That's
really what people were hoping for with him. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Golden State will always regret this one move they did. It started with the NBA draft. They should have drafted LaMelo Ball, #1 pick. If they should have just ran those 3 guys, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and LaMelo Ball, and make it work. That was the worst decision. Drafting that center, James
Wiseman, yeah.
Worst decision. Yeah. I didn't even like him in college. I didn't know you guys at that time, but you guys liked him. I didn't like him at all in college.
Well, it was hard to tell because we got to see him for 3 games.
Yeah.
And then he quit. I guess that should have told us something right there, He quits after 3 games.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time to move on to our playoff pick'em. But before we get started, I figured it'd be worth it to run through a couple of key injuries to look out for, as you're, maybe placing some bets this off season in your spare time. Um, First off, a couple players who are predicted to be out for the next couple of games. Starting off with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who suffered a calf strain after a pretty scary non-contact injury. He's projected to miss probably the first two games of their first round series with the Pacers. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back after the first game, but even that would be a pretty big effort for Giannis. Zion Williamson, we've already mentioned, he will be out for the Kings matchup with the Pelicans, I believe tonight. Kawhi Leonard is also listed as out indefinitely on the most recent injury report posted by the NBA.com. And it looks like he may miss game one of the series with the Mavericks. Terry Rozier will be out for the play-in matchup for the Heat. That's definitely going to be a key missing player, though Rozier has kind of had his ups and downs with the Heat so far.
I don't see Jimmy on here, but he's going to be out for a few weeks.
Oh, that must have happened today. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it turns out he has an MCL. He has an MCL strain, and I think they said 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler's out.
Oof. Goodness, yeah, throw that up there too. A couple of injuries we've known about for a while, but just to run them back by, Ben Mathurin of the Pacers is out for the season after a torn labrum. Ben Mathurin, Ben Simmons, yeah.
Ben Simmons
not
is
a
out
playoff
too.
player. Yeah, we don't have to report that one. That we reported that 2 years ago. We're good. Julius Randle of the Knicks is also going to be out for the season, again with a shoulder injury. It looks like Derek Lively of the Mavericks is likely to miss the first two games of the Mavs-Clippers matchup. He has a knee injury that he's nursing. Couple other players, of course, the Kings, Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, going to be out for at least the play-in matchup in terms of Malik Monk. He'll probably return somewhere in the middle of May. The Hawks are without Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Okongwu, and Sadiq Bey.
Don't need them. Don't need them.
Here.
They're gone fishing.
Yeah, they are. The Bulls may not yet be done fishing just yet. Zach LaVine, though, is out for the season, as well as Patrick Williams, and of course Lonzo Ball, who I did throw in here, although we did report that he was out about 2 years ago as well.
And a couple Caruso, Alex Caruso is also now questionable. He didn't play in the second half last night, and he's now questionable. Calling him a game.
Yeah, I think he only had 17 minutes. Yeah, that's tough. That's a big loss for them if he can't play. A couple of day-to-day guys. Joel Embiid, of course, is still making a recovery from his knee injury. He is playing, but it's something to keep in mind as Sixers move into the playoffs. The Celtics have quite a few guys listed with injuries. Really, most of their starting lineup. Tatum's dealing with some knee soreness. Jaylen Brown has a hand strain, his left hand, if that matters to you. Drew Holiday has some patellar tendonitis that he's dealing with. And as well as White and Horford dealing with some ticky-tack injuries with an ankle and a toe injury. The Mavericks as well are pretty beat up. Luka Doncic is still recovering from an ankle injury. And still dealing with that soreness. Maxi Kleber has had a back injury for most of the season. He's still dealing with some back spasms from that. Probably the biggest injury for them is going to be Dante Exum, who has a foot sprain, one of their key perimeter defenders. PJ Washington dealing with an ankle injury. You can go down the list. Even Kyrie Irving is dealing with some hamstrings tightness going into the playoffs. So pretty nicked up team for the Mavericks. The Cavs are equally nicked up, though not quite as many players. They have some pretty key injuries. Donovan Mitchell has been dealing with some knee soreness, and is still recovering from what appears to have been a sprain that he's been playing on.
A lot of games down the stretch, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they're trying to manage it. Darius Garland, of course, too, still recovering from his back contusion. Of course, he missed a big chunk of the year. And Karis LeVert, who is, as the Cavs would like to campaign for, one of the Sixth Man of the Year candidates, he's dealing with some knee soreness as well. Guys, as we move into the playoff pick'em, I want to run through the rules real quick. As the playoffs kick off on April 20th, we are going to kick off this pick'em competition. The scoring is based on the correct series winner, and you do have an opportunity at bonus points for predicting the correct number of games in the series. You'll also get a bonus 25 points for picking the finalists from each conference, and as well a bonus 25 points for correctly guessing this year's NBA champion. Each round will go through the picks as we kind of pick our brackets. And as we go through each round of the playoffs, there'll be bonus points since we're going to be deeper in for each round. We'll start off our playoff pick'em with the Celtics versus the as of yet unknown 8 seed. So guys, in each round, we'll go through. I'll probably start off just since I'm running things here, and then
why don't we go in
we'll
alphabetical order? Cam, no, okay. I was gonna say Cam, Doc.
Cam, Doc, Rich works. That works too. As we go through, make sure to give me the team that you would like to select, and as well, how many games you think it'll take for your winner to take out their opponent in a best of 7. So we'll start off with the Celtics. We're still looking for the possible matchup between the Bulls and the Heat for this 8 seed after the play-in tournament. I'm not sure that it's going to matter all that much who ends up making it out. But, for me, I'm going to take the Celtics. I think just knowing that the Celtics are a little nicked up and kind of the history of 1 seeds kind of giving away that first game, just as a kind of a feel out, I'm going to go Celtics in 5.
Okay.
Yeah, Rich, what about you?
Oh, all right. We'll just go down the order. All right. I like Celtics at 4, no matter who they play. I think it's going to be Miami because they're home, but without Jimmy Butler, maybe Miami wins a game, but I'm going to say Celtics in 4.
Doc, what are you feeling?
I got a feeling Miami wins, so I'm just going to say Celtics in 6.
Wow.
6.
Yeah.
All right. The Knicks as the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, matching up with the 76ers with recently returned Joel Embiid. Guys, I had a hard time picking this one, especially knowing now that it's going to be the Sixers with at least a somewhat healthy Embiid. It makes me feel a little bit, reticent to take the Knicks, but I'm a Jalen Brunson believer. I think they've got enough, depth, especially in the front court, to match up with at least a hampered Embiid, especially given he might not be able to play as many minutes as he might need to really dominate in this series. I'm going to go Knicks in 6.
I'm going to go, again, I thought long and hard about it too. And it basically, I think it's pretty even. Now, Sixers are missing a couple of guys like, DeAnthony Melton. And we don't know, if Embiid's going to hold up. Knicks have played really well since they got OG Anunoby when he plays. I think there's something like 20-3 in the games he plays. So probably the smart money is on the Knicks, especially since they have home court. but it was close enough that I'm going to go with my favorite team here. I'm gonna give them the edge in 7.
And I picked Sixers and 7.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious what do you guys think is going to be the turning point in this series? Because to me, I like just looking at the matchup, I feel like, Jalen Brunson, especially this season, he's been an absolute killer against drop coverage. That's one of the reasons that the Knicks have really crushed the Celtics this season when they've matched up. That's kind of the layer of the game I'm looking for in that matchup. But
That's where
if you're
that's where
as
Melton.
Sixers believers,
That's where Melton would really help. I love D'Anthony's defense. Jalen Brunson, has always been going all the way back to Villanova, a matchup nightmare. He's just got a unique style to him. He's going to get his points. I just think the Sixers, if they're hitting on all cylinders, I mean, look, Batum carried them the other night, and they have Hield. Hield can throw up 20 any night he wants, and so can Oubre. I don't know. I just feel like they have more weapons, offensive weapons, and that's kind of like the way I like them. But the Knicks are, I think, a better defensive team. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, I just picked Sixers and 7. I'm from New York. Yeah, and I don't really like to talk about Knicks and Sixers. It's like the Giants and the Eagles. I'm not gonna ever pick the Knicks to beat the Sixers. So, what it is.
You're
all right, maybe just historically,
you're kind of in
we're
the
going
middle.
Sixers here.
You Brooklyn, Wilmington.
I'm from Harlem.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you're a Sixers fan though, or you consider yourself a Nets fan.
Never consider myself a Nets fan. I mean, Ben Simmons.
I still refuse to believe that Nets fans exist. I don't know if are they real? I think they're like the Tooth Fairy.
I know a season ticket holder. Well, Doc used to be.
I used to be a season ticket holder.
You're not a Nets fan.
I'm not a fan. It's a good resale market.
Yeah, your family, your family is though, right? Your family.
No, we just did it for the resale.
Oh, okay. Well, I know a season ticket holder who's a serious fan.
Okay. We'll move on to the 4-5 matchup in the Eastern Conference. We've got the Cavs as the 4 seed matching up with the Orlando Magic, the surprise Orlando Magic. And guys, I had a really hard time with this series. I think, this Cavs team, they have a lot of injuries, especially to some of their top guys. A little nicked up, especially Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. A lot of questions about, the fit with the front court, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I got to go with, my darling Orlando Magic. I love this team. Coming into the season, one of the best defensive teams in the league. And they've really been riding high on the improved sophomore season from Paolo Banchero, the former Rookie of the Year. They've got a crazy defensive performance, really down the roster. Jalen Suggs has really come onto the scene and has really, in a lot of ways, taken over their point guard roles. Franz Wagner's had an off shooting season for the Magic, but he's still a key cog. And probably one of the comeback stories of the year, Jonathan Isaacs. He didn't qualify with the games played for all defensive teams, but I wouldn't have been shocked to see him actually win it. I think minute for minute he might be the single best defender in the NBA, maybe the most versatile.
He certainly was heading that direction, before he suffered all those injuries.
Yeah. I think the one knock on this Magic team is they really, really struggle offensively, especially down the stretch in games. Their clutch offense is pretty limited to basically Paolo Banchero, isolations, and a lot of times. But man, I just think, with a Cavs team that's a little bit awkward, and we've seen them disappoint in the playoffs, in the past. I just think this is going to kind of turn into a slugfest kind of series. I'm going to go Magic in 7. But I'm really curious to see what you guys think.
Cleveland, disappointed. I think most people last year we thought they were going to beat the Knicks. I think that added experience is going to give them the edge, and their defense has been, good. There's top 10 defense this year. So I like Cleveland in a tight series. I like Cleveland in 7.
All right, Doc, what are you thinking?
And I got Cleveland in 6.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks in my head is the inexperience. Cleveland was a victim of inexperience last year, and I think maybe Orlando, same thing. They might be just a year away.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that too. I think either way, this series is going to end up, going a little bit further. I think 6-7 game range is probably in the cards.
Right.
All right, guys. We'll move on to the in our mind, a little bit disappointing Bucks, going through it this season, as the 3 seed, fell behind at the last minute to the Knicks, losing that 2nd spot. They're going to be matching up with the Pacers at the 6th seed. But Rich, tell us a little bit, about, what your thoughts are on this matchup. And we'll kind of take it from there. But what are you thinking?
When we were talking NBA in the preseason, I didn't like Milwaukee's depth. And we know that team, to a man, loved Drew Holiday, and they were really sad to see him go. And we've talked about their defense slipping, and now Giannis is going to miss some time, and who knows? We saw last year remember last year he missed the first couple of games in their series, and they ended up losing to Miami. I think the same thing happens this year. I'm taking the Pacers in 6. Now, Pacers aren't as good without Ben Mathurin, but they're still a pretty darn good team. Now, with Ben Mathurin, I would have no problem picking the Pacers. But still, I'm counting. Basically, what I'm betting on is Giannis misses a couple of games, Milwaukee gets down, and they can't recover.
Yeah, Doc, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's a crazy take, Rich. I'm sorry. But Milwaukee's winning the series. It's Dame time. That's it. He's gonna win. I give them. They're gonna go at it for sure. I give them. I want to say Dame. I feel like Giannis only gonna miss 1 game, but I feel like 6 or 7. So I'm just gonna go with. I want to get it right. I give it 7 because if it goes 6, I think Clippers will win that game 6 game to be the last game in the end. I think they'll win that game. So. But 7, I'll give Milwaukee just because Giannis might miss 1 or 2 games. But they definitely they're going to split every time. They're going to split the first 2. They're going to split games 3 and 4, and then if I feel like Milwaukee going to win at home 5, and if Indiana wins 6, they win 6. But I think it's going to be like that. Milwaukee going to be up 3-2 basically, and they're going to win the series.
Okay, I see the vision. My heart wants to stick with you, Doc, because I'm a Dame fan. It's just been a rough season for him, and I don't know if he has enough, support, especially on offense, even, with the possibility of missing Giannis for at least 2 games. Not to mention, if you look at these 2 teams in their season matchups, because they are in the same division in the East. The Pacers are actually 4-1 against the Bucks this year.
Wow.
They've kind of got their number. I think especially too, when Lopez is on the court, and really since Doc Rivers has taken over, they've reverted to kind of playing this heavy drop defense. Which, Brook Lopez, he's an excellent drop defender, but if there's one thing that you cannot do against Tyrese Halliburton, it's play drop. He absolutely thrives against the drop. I'm going to go Pacers. Granted, though, I do think it's even with Giannis missing at least 2 games, I think it's going to be a long series because, in the same way that the Bucks struggle defensively, the Pacers really struggle defensively as well. it's going to be a little bit of an offensive slugfest in this series. I think it's actually going to be a bunch of blowouts, kind of back to back to back. But I'm going to go Pacers in 7.
Hey, that don't make
But
sense. How you got Pacers beating Milwaukee in Milwaukee?
yep.
That's insane.
I mean, hey, I just there's something about, this team offensively and their matchup with the Bucks. There's just something about it. They've got enough bigs to throw at Giannis as well with Miles Turner, Jalen Smith. I mean, you can even go
Jackson.
down further, deeper. Yeah, they got Jackson behind them too. They got at least enough bodies to throw at Giannis. I just think, they kind of have their number, and it might take a while because I know Giannis is going to come back hard when he does come back from that injury. We're going to see a
I'm
little bit of
also not
playoff Giannis, but
I'm also not a big believer in Doc Rivers.
yeah, I mean, his Game 7 record is a little tough if we're getting into it. So I don't know. I'm curious to see. All right, that's going to wrap up our first round for the East. We'll move on to the first round matchup of the Oklahoma City Thunder, first seed in the West, with the as yet unknown 8 seed, possibly the Pelicans, possibly the Kings. Doc, you were saying earlier, it probably doesn't matter who wins this play-in game, but I'm curious what you think about this series. What are we going to see out of OKC?
I think this is their first real test. I mean, now it's time to play in playoffs. So, I mean, whoever they play, I do think the Kings kind of got the experience over them, I guess, for that one series last year, but they should be good. They beat whoever in 6. They're going to lose 2 games regardless to whoever, just because, but they're going to win in 6.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't see this OKC team, dropping off completely in the first round. I think I'd be really shocked to see them completely disappoint. Granted, this is by far the youngest 1 seed in NBA history.
They hardly have anybody over 25 years old.
Yeah, they barely do. But I will say, I think, I would feel a little bit differently if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hadn't already had quite a bit of playoff experience in his short career. Being their best player, he has been on this stage before, both with the Clippers and with OKC in previous seasons. So
he wasn't a man.
yeah,
though.
he wasn't the man yet, but he was, a pretty big contributor on both of those teams. I got enough faith in that to say that OKC is going to take care of business for sure. It's kind of just a matter of, for me, of how many games. But, we're looking at probably a hampered Pelicans team, probably a hampered Kings team. I'm going to go OKC in 5. I'll give them 1 gimme game. But I think they're just all around better offensively, defensively than either team that they're going to match up with. But Rich, what are you thinking?
Well, I picked preseason. I picked the Kings to win the West. So obviously I was a little wrong there. And now, they're missing, their 2 best shooters. I still think the Kings are going to win tomorrow night. And I think they're going to give an inexperienced OKC team a battle all the way to 7. But I'm going to give the nod to OKC.
Okay. We'll move on to the 2-seeded Nuggets matching up with the Los Angeles Lakers in a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. I'll go ahead and take this one as the Denver native. It was a sweep last season, and honestly, I would expect it to be a sweep again this year. But the Lakers are healthy. They looked pretty good so far down the stretch of the season. They really went on a pretty good run to secure this 7 seed. I thought there was a possibility they might even throw the play-in game just to avoid playing the Nuggets, but clearly they're feeling themselves. I still have no worries about the Lakers. I just don't think it's all that great of a matchup for the Lakers against the Nuggets. Granted, it was a sweep, but it was a pretty close game every single time last year. I just think this Lakers team hasn't really done anything to improve since last year. And, granted, the Nuggets roster has probably regressed a little bit, having lost some key guys from last year's team. But I'm going to go Nuggets in 5. I think I can give LeBron at least, one game out of the series, especially since it was so close last year. But what are you guys thinking? Doc, I know you're not much of a Nuggets fan, so I'm kind of curious what you're thinking here.
Yeah, if Jamal Murray doesn't turn into Super Saiyan again, if he's regular season Jamal Murray in the first round, the Lakers are gonna win.
Woo! You taking Lakers then?
No, I ain't gonna take the Lakers. I don't know how Jamal Murray gonna play. He's an X factor because he's weird. He's whack in the regular season. He's so trash in the regular season, but then the playoffs he turns into this different dude. I don't know why or how. It's the opposite of Joel Embiid. So it's like it's a weird thing with him. It's not even like the team is that good. It's just that he turns different. Like they team right now, when you watch them, you be like, how they even win the championship? They won because people forget how Jamal Murray plays in the playoffs. So that's the difference is him. So I don't know how he's gonna play. And they say playoff play. You saw that commercial. There's no such thing as playoff Jimmy. No such thing as playoff Jamal Murray. So I don't know. I'm gonna pick the Denver Nuggets though at 7.
7. What are you thinking?
I like Denver and 5. The Lakers are a little banged up in the front court. I don't think Christian Wood or Jared Vanderbilt are healthy. They didn't play the other night. Oh, Cam Reddish didn't play the other night either. I think he's also banged up. So the Lakers, some of the additions that we were, Christian Wood, I think, was one of them. Jackson Hayes hasn't really turned out to be what we thought he would be. Taurean Prince really hasn't done anything spectacular. Dinwiddie's been, pretty good. And D'Angelo Russell seems to have taken his game up, but he certainly played well the other night. But it's Denver, and I just think Denver is heads above the Lakers because of Jokic and Murray. And one thing I am worried about a little bit is Michael Porter. Michael Porter apparently is pretty upset about what happened to his brother, Javante, who got banned for the league for gambling. And this is, well, he should. That's just, can't do that stuff. Especially for the little bit of money that he made. I mean, we're talking, maybe there's more, but the number I heard was like $20-some thousand. But anyway, I digress. Denver handled them last year. I don't know if the Lakers are much better than they were last year. I'm going to take Denver in 5.
All right. We'll move on to the Clippers in the 4th seed versus the Mavericks 5th seed. This is actually the 3rd time that these two teams have matched up in the playoffs. And every year, it's been an absolute slugfest. We've had all-time Kawhi series performances. We've had incredible Luka Doncic triple-doubles, game winners, everything. And this matchup is probably shaping up to be one of the best of the first round. But Rich, what are your thoughts on this Clippers-Mavs matchup in the first round?
It's a tough one. This one could go either way. And I'm going with the Mavs in 7, basically because once again, we're going in there. We don't know what the deal is with Kawhi. So I think this Clippers team is very different. I could see this Clippers team losing in the first round of the Magic. I also could see them representing the West in the finals. But it all depends on how healthy they are. But right now, Kawhi, is not healthy. So I got to go with the Mavs in 7.
Yeah, on that note, Kawhi he's missed the last 8 games of the season, which, in previous seasons wouldn't be all that shocking for him, even if it was just a rest situation. But, looking at the injury report to see him as listed as out indefinitely, that definitely gives me some pause, especially since in the past when the Clippers have won this matchup, they needed like a Super Saiyan effort from Kawhi in order to do it. Granted, they do have a little bit more star power than they have in past years with James Harden.
Well, you know
Knock
how I
on
feel
wood.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harden doesn't faze me one bit, you know.
Yeah. I think maybe the subplot that I kind of have my eye on is that Paul George still doesn't have an extension. And that's just kind of lingering over this team in terms of their offseason. I kind of worry a little bit about the Clippers if they go down, say 2-0. What really happens then, especially with a guy like James Harden, who we've seen throw some stinkers out there in the past when it looks like they're out. But for me, I still think this Clippers team has enough, star power and defensive potential, upside in terms of the guys they have on the roster. I think it's going to still be a long series, but I'm going to go with the Mavs in 7. I just think Kyrie and Luka have been playing so well, the past couple of weeks even. The Mavs have been one of the hottest teams down the stretch, even though most of their guys are banged up. I just think Luka Magic is going to be enough to carry the Mavs through in this series. Doc, what are your thoughts?
Well, if I could, I really like the
addition. Go ahead, Rich.
I really like the addition of Gafford. And I really love the draft pick of Lively. Now I know Lively's gonna, he's taken a back seat to Gafford, and he's, now, right, it won't last for long, but right now he's, a reserve, but and he's hurt, but still, I think Gafford and Lively is a nice 1-2 rim protection punch for that team. Sorry, Doc. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think Doc fell asleep on us.
Yeah, Clippers in 7.
Clippers in 7.
Yeah, no explanation. They won the last 2 times. I understand it's a different team, but Clippers in 7, man. I don't think they don't want to lose first round. They one of those teams that's like, all right, they kind of got to win down too. So I think they're gonna go all out. I think he's gonna miss maybe that first game, but he's gonna force himself to try to play something. And I think that team could overcome. I don't know, bro. It's something about the Mavs, man. They playing good late, but I think dumb inability to play defense and Kyrie just doesn't. Kyrie will fool you. Kyrie would make you think he's playing great, but he goes to playoff droughts too. Like he has bad playoff games all the time.
Similar to Harden.
Yeah, very similar to Harden. Very those are guys that can really fool you. That make you think they're playing good, but Kyrie disappeared a lot. Like he disappeared that time when Boston swept the Nets that series, and everybody playing KD, but Kyrie was just as bad. So.
Man, I know for sure, regardless, if the Clippers lose in the first round, Steve Ballmer might just trade the whole damn team. They got that new stadium coming. He does not want a bunch of losers there.
He
cannot handle it.
He can't trade nobody. The way he's doing right now, he's spending so much money on that ticket system. He did some new ticket system where it's only costs like $1,200, I think, or $12,000 for season tickets, and you get to sit anywhere randomly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, all right. We'll move on to the matchup between the Timberwolves, the 3 seed in the West, and the disappointing from our fearless forecast Phoenix Suns, led by Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I guess we'll give the big 3 credit to Bradley Beal, but I don't know if I believe it. Doc, what are you thinking about this series? What are your thoughts? What are we going to see? What's going to happen here?
Going to give an analyst. I just Suns going to win in 6. They're not losing. They're the better team. They got the more experience. They're not losing. When it comes down to last second shots, when it comes down to executing at the end and playing playoff basketball, they got the stars. They got the 2 best players. When you do the top 3 players on the court, they got 2 of them. And that's what you got to pick in the playoffs. Sorry. And I just can't. Definitely without Cat. Is Cat coming back?
Even if he's back. He's back.
Yeah,
Minnesota's one of the few teams that doesn't have any injuries.
Yeah.
KD and Devin Booker, I trust to win that series. Like that's one team. If you say every team in playoffs, that's one team that's very, very beatable. And I think those guys do it in 6.
All right. And yeah, I just can't with this Suns team anymore personally. I think, the star power is great and they've gotten a little bit more production from their, supporting cast this year with Grayson Allen, who's had really a career season, especially shooting wise.
Got a new contract today.
Yeah, he got a new contract. He's getting paid. And man, too, like Jusuf Nurkic, talk about a guy that just about everyone in the league had given up on. And he's actually been really productive, really solid and healthy for this Suns team. But for me, man, I think when the game slows down in the playoffs, it gets a little bit more physical. I think this Wolves team has what it takes to win. Granted, it kind of comes down to what kind of clutch play you're going to get out of Anthony Edwards, because we don't want the ball in Karl Anthony Towns' hands down the stretch. Definitely don't want the ball in Rudy Gobert's hands down the stretch. But I think defensively, the Wolves can make it really hard for an older Kevin Durant. And, I think too, we're going to see one of those, like the lean in memes from Anthony Edwards in terms of defense on Devin Booker. I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't actually take that matchup full time. Not a guy that wants to back down from a difficult defensive matchup. To add in too, you got Jay McDaniels to match up with Kevin Durant on the other end as well. I'm going to go with the Wolves. I think they can get it done in 6 as well. I just think, Kevin Durant's been hiding a little bit in plain sight this year because his clutch numbers are actually way down across the season. And 2, I mean, you always have the threat of an injury to either Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, or Kevin Durant. And, one of those guys goes down for a game or 2 even. And I think that's just curtains for their year. But Rich, what do you think, man?
No,
Rich, before you go, let me just say this to the viewers out there, because he picked 2 young teams already to come out and win a first round series. Based on history, first year young teams do not win first round. We saw it last year with the Kings. They lost to the veteran Golden State team, who's not even in the playoffs this year. This just saying out to viewers. I understand it looks nice in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, the young team, they play hard, but
They do.
The first year. Minnesota's not technically their first year, but this is their first year, in my opinion, because this is a whole different team than that Patrick Beverly year when they would start crying when they made that stuff. So this one was like first year
That's a meme in itself.
I like Karl Anthony Towns is a complete meme for saying, them taking, the Nuggets to 6 games, 5 games in last year's playoff was more impressive than the finals. But I mean, to be honest though, they did give the Nuggets the biggest run for their money last year out of pretty much everybody in the league in terms of playoffs. So I don't know. I don't want to say that they don't have any experience. They may be young, but a lot of the guys on that team have been around at least in the playoffs. Right. Mitch, what are your thoughts though? You going Wolves? You going with the experienced Suns?
Both of you make great arguments. But here's what really impressed me today when I was, looking at the depth charts and thinking about the matchups, was just the continuity. I'm like, man, Minnesota's running it back, and they played well all season. They had the top defense in terms of efficiency this year. I don't. Durant to me is just showing his age. Beal is showing his age. Booker never seems to really come through at the right times. I like Minnesota in 7.
All right, at this point, let's go ahead and skip ahead to our NBA champion and finals runner-up picks. If you're interested to see the rest of our picks in this playoff pick'em competition, you'll be able to see them on our website at hoopsprospects.com. But let's skip ahead to our finals matchups. I know everybody's wanting to hear what we think. For me, I think I've narrowed down on 2 teams for the finals, almost without a doubt. I'm definitely really confident about my pick in the East. I just think the Celtics are head and shoulders above everyone else. And I just don't really see a way that they're going to get upset in the playoffs this year, especially since, it's been a long time coming, and this is clearly the best iteration of the Celtics roster. They got a lot to play for. They're definitely making it to the finals. And in the West, I still think that the Nuggets, call me a homer, but I still think that the Nuggets are the best all-around team in the Western Conference. They've got the championship experience. They've got possibly a 3-time MVP in Nikola Jokic, throw in a final MVP in there as well. We might just see an appearance of playoff Jamal Murray. That being said, though, in a finals matchup between the Nuggets and the Celtics, we've seen this matchup twice this year, and the Nuggets have come away as the winners in both games. I've seen the matchups, and I know that the Celtics have absolutely no one to guard Nikola Jokic. He's destroyed Kristaps Porzingis. He's destroyed Al Horford. He's even destroyed Drew Holiday for stretches of games. I just don't see a way that the Celtics can win in this matchup without a real answer for Jokic one-on-one. I'm going to go Nuggets in 6, just knowing that the Celtics probably have one of the best home courts in the NBA, and it ain't going to get any worse in the finals, especially since they would have home court advantage in that series, just about any series. But in spite of that, I'm going to go Nuggets in 6 to win the NBA championship.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Rich, what are you thinking? Oh, Doc, you want to go first?
Ahead, Doc.
Go ahead, Doc.
Boston for sure coming out the East. Don't matter who they play. And Boston would beat anybody in the West. I don't have a West team. I'm sorry. I don't know who to pick for the West. It's too hard. I have to really sit down and I don't know, bro. It's just the West is too tough. I think they all could beat each other for some reason. Like it is not a situation. It could be the Clippers. I just think but it's Boston's year to win the championship. Super long overdue for Tatum to win. And I just think Boston's going to win a championship. But if I got to pick a team to make it, I guess I'm going to pick the team with like the easiest path. So, damn, it ain't no easy pass. I don't know. I can't pick
It's all hard in the West.
Let me break them down the West. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's just say Nuggets. Hypothetically, I just don't know. I can't say the Nuggets.
Can't do it.
I don't know. I'm gonna say the Clippers. I'm gonna say the Clippers versus I'm gonna say the Clippers versus the Celtics, and I got the Clippers. I got the Celtics. Simple.
Fun matchup. How many games you think in there, Doc?
Definitely 7.
Yeah, okay. Love it. We know it's going 6 or 7 in the finals. We're not having any of those sweeps. Not anymore.
No, definitely close series.
Rich, what you feeling?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think the Celtics definitely have the easiest path. I don't think they're going to go in any series past 6 games. I think I have them going 4, 5, and 6. In their 6 being max. And I think Denver's going to have a much tougher path because, as Doc said, I think if Sacramento gets in there, I think the 8th seed, pretty much all 8 teams in the West are pretty close. But I think Denver is still just, a notch above, but not like the Celtics are in the East. So I think the Nuggets will have a tougher time getting there. However, I like the fact that Denver, the Celtics a lot of times play this ISO ball where Denver likes to share the ball. You know me, I'm a big believer in assist percentage. Of course, Denver's near the top of the league. Celtics are near the bottom. Denver has the experience at winning these games. And we've seen the Celtics do some really boneheaded things over the last few years, including their coach last year. And so, I'll believe it when I see it with the Celtics. So I'm going to say Denver in 7.
Thank you. We got Denver and the Celtics and just about every pick across our board so far. Doc's got to be different. He's taking the Clippers. I love it.
Doc is way different.
Still see it. I can still see it. But that's going to make it a wrap for NBA playoff deep dive. Check back next week. I'm sure we'll have some more NBA takes after we get to see a few of these first round matchups. We got a lot of NBA draft content coming your way in the next couple of months. It's going to be a great summer, guys. I'm really excited to see some NBA basketball. I'm really excited to see, our draft coverage and be a part of that. But as always, I want to thank our listeners. I want to thank, Rich and Doc for helping us out this week. If you ever miss an episode, you can always, check out the accompanying articles, as well as find us on our website at hoopsprospects.com. And if you have any questions for us in the mailbag, it's been a while since we had a mailbag question, please email it to admin@hoopsprospects.com. We also take questions via social media on Twitter @hoopsprospects, on Instagram @thehoopsprospects, and on Facebook @hoopspros. We will be back next week with a special guest who Rich interviewed actually today. Really excited for that one. You're going to love it. And we are going to be talking more college hoops and NBA throughout the summer. Guys, before we sign off, any last thoughts, opinions, points of view?
No, I'm just glad basketball's still going on. So yeah, I'm excited. I really, as you know, I don't watch much NBA during the regular season. Not as much as I would like. And so now I'll be tuning in every night.
It's gonna be fun, man.
Yeah, of course, I'm gonna be different with all my picks. Y'all know that. I had to pick something different. I always gotta be different. I don't like I just don't like them like that. But yeah, no. I think the West is really close. Will I be surprised them to go to the West, the finals? No. But I just think it's very close that anybody could be anybody. So, and I don't like picking back-to-back champions unless they really above the rest of the competition. So
it's gonna be fun to see if they can prove it.
Yeah, Denver's definitely fallen back, with the loss of depth and so forth.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to more chats with the NBA boys. But that is it for this week. We will see you all next